My topic is on the divide between Jewish and Christian faiths and the formation of a bridge of shalom and understanding between these historically opposed groups. This presentation will look at 3 bridges that need to be built and why, as well as solutions that can help with this process. My goal is simple: to create a bridge ministry that is co-sponsored by both Jews and Christians. The first bridge we encounter is historical challenges. While Christians today may not be personally culpable of the actions of the following slides, Judaism teaches that one lives on through their legacy. If the deaths of millions of Jews is a legacy of Jesus and Christianity, they have a very hard time trusting anything affiliated with it. A familiar image from a box office hit. Thousands flocked to see the film in theaters. Jews, however, were afraid of the onslaught of anti-Semitism it could cause. History is rife with Christians that have accused the Jews of being Christ killers. One vivid example is Mel Gibson's drunk-driving anti-Semitic rampage after the film released. Now more associated with the Catholic Church in the dark ages of Christianity than modern evangelicalism, the Crusades were an attempt to establish worldwide Christianity by killing any Jew or Muslim that did not convert. Those who converted were forced to eat pig in public and desecrate their sacred objects. Many Jews believe the Crusades is still a core value in modern Christianity. It was a survivor of the Holocaust that coined the term and gave definition to genocide. There are many, like celebrity Christian John Hagee, that believe Hitler was fulfilling God's will by using mass murder to create the Israeli state in 1948. A Jew could ask, is it coincidence that American Christian politicians support the same man that the alt-right movement does? Just as Christians typically know very little of the history of anti-Semitism, the Jewish people know very little of Christian theology. Given the collective Jewish experience, who can blame them? Nonetheless, some rabbis have studied Christianity and find significant problems. There are key parts of Christian doctrine that are incompatible with Jewish theology. Iconoclasm was a war within the church in history, but it only addressed the saints, not the source of their faith itself. The Jew, however, considers any physical representation of Hashem to be idolatry, the doctrine of Jesus as God incarnate specifically so. For the Jew, the Torah says God is not a man and not subject to the limitations of humanity. The Trinity poses another quandary for the Jew. The first command that Klal Israel heard was that he is God alone in a singular sense. The Christian interpretation is harmonious 3 in 1. The Shack illustrates the theological struggle in its primal form. Not even Christians can agree on how to understand this post-biblical traditional doctrine. Jewish tradition teaches the Decalogue was heard vocally by all of Israel at once. From Avraham on, the Jew has had no problem going straight to Hashem. The notion that the line of communication has changed from a metaphysical Skype session to a man-son is difficult for the Jew, who finds this inconsistent with God's unchanging nature. Consistency goes beyond mere mediation, however, and looks at the addition of text to the Tanakh. While most of the texts are strong in Jewish culture, as they should be, the evolution of Jesus as an itinerant Jewish preacher to a modified salvation program is a stretch for the Jew, who often is told that the denial of Jesus as Messiah and God condemns him to eternal hell. There are modern practices that are obstacles to Jewish Christian unity. The Judaism that exists today is known as Rabbinic Judaism, established when the temple's destruction required a reformation to rely on synagogues as the primary instead of secondary expression of one's faith. Similarities exist between the shul and the church, of which is the springboard that we can forge a foundation. Shabbos is on the 7th day, and the Lord's Day is on the 1st. This is a perfectly acceptable solution for both parties, as the Jew asserts that of all the mitzvot, Shabbos is the only command that only a Jew can and must observe. Denominations that argue for Gentile observance of Shabbat are the only barrier in this practice difference. An Orthodox Shabbos service is filled with 1 hour of Torah reading, under 10 minutes of teaching, and 2 hours of scripted prayer through psalm. Objects of divine treatment are the Torah scrolls and Talit. This is in addition to triple services every other day. In this capacity, there is great difference between a Jewish service and a Christian one. The Jew is obligated to Torah observance, but only the Jew. Gentiles are free to live with the basic laws of Noah. Beyond that, Judaism values that each Jew works at their own pace, recognizing that Hashem values personal improvement, not the finish line. In this lens, Jews typically view Christians as intolerant, a badge of pride to some. There are 2 traditional statements to consider. Jews don't bow, and Jews don't pray. Jews daven, which is reciting liturgical prayers through their siddur at set times. Jews bow during davening toward Hashem and consider it inappropriate to bow to anything or anyone else, not even davening in front of a family photo. A key focus in Christianity is of minor importance in Judaism: heaven. Judaism teaches that a Gentile who observes the Noahide laws will have a place in the world to come. Thus, a Christian believes an observant Jew stands condemned, whereas a Jew believes a Christian might partake in Olam Haba. Addressing theological differences is the biggest issue. Jews cannot condone the Trinity, Messiah as God, and that Jesus is the Messiah. These issues are core parts of Christian doctrine, and to suggest revision is often considered heresy. The Jews historically take issue with anything Greek, and the comparison of Jesus to Hercules and Satan to Hades is uncanny. Immediate growth can be made in repairing the world by repairing relations between Jew and Christian. The Jews are hurt by the Holocaust, but it is residual anger. Much like a wild Pikachu, the average Jew is very cautious of Christians as a result. The immediate desire of the Jews is for Christian evangelism of Jews to cease. Many influential Orthodox rabbis are willing to entertain, from a certain point of view, that Christianity may be acceptable for Gentiles, but Christians must consent Judaism is an acceptable and viable solution for the Jews. Once respect is fostered in this core difference, we can learn to appreciate the differences in lifestyle and observance, and move forward in trusting each other. While individuals within the groups attempt their own methods of seeding tolerance, the issue goes beyond allowing each other's existence. I posit to build a two-way bridge ministry co-sponsored by both Jews and Christians to pave the way that teaches both groups about each other and removes the taboo of religious engagement and conversation.